2021, I started my role as secretary, which allowed me to meet people from all aspects of the club, recreational, development, and players. The following year, alongside tennis, I also joined surf. I did this as an absolute beginner, a sport that without the university, I probably never would have tried. Through the club, I have learned about many problems which extreme sports clubs face, such as general safety concerns, kit issues, logistics of organising trips both across Scotland and Europe. This year, I've also been the tennis club president. Through this, I've learned so much about sport at Edinburgh. I've only 19 hours of weekly on-court sessions, which accommodate 307. I've seen the successes of our 11 Bucks teams and also introduced intramural tennis into the development sport. Through being largely involved in the administrative side of the club, it's allowed me to see what it takes to run clubs of this size. I would love to transfer this to the role of SU president. Through being a beginner in the sport, a woman in a mixed gender club, a widening participation student, I recognised and understood many barriers to sport and to continue supporting students in overcoming these. I think I'm a great candidate to represent sport at Edinburgh because of my varied experience here, between clubs which have vastly different structures. Given my experience, I've identified areas of the SU that can be improved. I want to increase accessibility and well-being, help provide further support to clubs, and build USU as a whole community. Firstly, for accessibility and well-being, like Wiggin said, I work with USU and the 93% Club to widen the participation grant, ensuring that more students can access it. I also wonder if there are any other ways to levy costs for other students. Secondly, for accessibility and well-being, if clubs have the capacity, I want to introduce a semester option to join, publicising taster sessions. I also want to work with the university to ensure that concussions don't result in academic disruption, either by making sure that they're covered by extenuating circumstances or allow for longer extension. Days just isn't enough. For supporting clubs, firstly, I want to look at the club one-to-ones, ensuring the exec committee are paired with clubs that have prior knowledge, where they have prior knowledge of that sport, or their home club has a similar structure. Where this isn't possible, I would ensure that the committee attend a club session or a social to understand the dynamic of that club. And then within these one-to-ones, set clear goals at the start of the year. Secondly, I would try to introduce a check-in meeting at the beginning of second semester with the SU president, here at the club's development, and how USU can assist. Thirdly, Wednesday afternoons. Most clubs will face this issue. They're along with me. I want players to be playing no matter of their level. Also looking at changing kit tenors, so I also make sure that all clubs have access to the right in time for September, and put steps in place to ensure that the additional cost is levied. Finally, for supporting clubs, I want to reform conditioning to partially streamline it, to put athletes who perform similar movements and sports in the same sessions, so those S&C sessions can be specific to that athlete's sport. Building USU as a whole. Firstly, I want to build links between different clubs. There's so many opportunities, such as the USU Club Conference, where committees can meet other committees, and then we can build a supportive network. I also want to ensure that all clubs have the same opportunities, ensuring that they're accessible to all clubs, whether they're Bucks or non-Bucks, whether they use sports and exercise or not. I also want to increase media support. More media support for clubs who do not train at sports and exercise facilities. To help these clubs show their successes and their programs, I also want to start daily life so people can get a taste of what it's like to be a member of that club. There are 71 clubs at Edinburgh, so there is so much opportunity to try nearly anything. I want to make sure that all clubs feel supported and are provided with the same opportunity to showcase the amazing things that are happening. Whether it's competing on a Wednesday, trying a new sport, or going on a trip in Scotland, I want to facilitate another year of sport at Edinburgh.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming this evening. I'm Liv and I'm a fourth year history and politics student from York. I would absolutely love to be elected your next sports union president. Sport has been the most defining feature of my university experience, and to be able to give back to the community that has given me personally guys, and I played for the History Girls Netball Club, and honestly made some of the best memories and had such an enjoyable experience. In second year, I then trialled again and got into a book in which I've been on the UNC 7s or 8s for the past 3 years. I therefore know and understand what both the competitive and the recreational side is required. In terms of committee positions, because of how much I enjoyed my work experience, I stepped in to help the recreational netball officer in second year. She stepped away from the role and I took it on. Because of my own work experience, I put my all into the role, bridging the gap between the competitive and recreational sides of netball. Because of this, I was awarded outstanding commitment to the club and netball board because of the ways in which I forged increased participation levels and made recreational girls feel welcome at socials. From this, I became vice school captain in my third year, and then this year I became captain. I also sat on the Blues and Colours committee this year, which has given me an insight into how sports community committees run. Across the roles, some of the things that I've worked on are leading the Edinburgh Community Campus project, which gets children from socio-economically involved in netball playing for the first time. I also recently went on the 93% podcast to discuss the accessibility of sport at Edinburgh. It was Thursday and is available to listen to on Spotify if you would like to hear more about this. These changes and experiences are all therefore reflected in my manifesto. My first manifesto point is well-being. Going back to joining the netball committee in my second year regional netball officer, running alongside this was a really difficult time for me personally. I was really struggling mentally, having both anxiety and depression due to my living situation, in which I became really close to dropping out of university. I know this is something that many students experience. I also know that it may sound a little bit cliche, but honestly, netball was the leading reason that I stayed at university. The support system, the feeling that your teammates value you and being in committee, just the fact that you have a job to do kept me going. That's why well-being is my first manifesto point, because the impact sport has on mental health is so important. How I would look to facilitate this is through looking at mental health first aid training for wellbeing and inclusion officers. I've seen this being put in place for my and just all my supervisors. It basically gives people more of a support, more of a toolkit to be able to support people within their club. I would also look at establishing a sports union-led run club. This could come in different formats. For example, a run club for women across all of our sports to ensure women's participation levels in sport at Edinburgh are promoted. As statistics show that it is women that are most likely to start engaging in exercise during school. University is therefore to activate this. My second manifesto point is widening participation. As I mentioned earlier, I've worked with societies such as the 93% before and will continue to do that as your sports union president to ensure sport at Edinburgh has greater accessibility. This also involves encouraging more schools and societies to enter as intramural teams. My next manifesto point is a focus on advocacy. I would amplify the student providing the connection between all of you, the sports union, and the institution itself. I was able to celebrate all of the amazing work that I'm able to do. One way that I thought of doing this is through the Sports Union-led podcast. I'd interview athletes, coaches, behind-the-scenes staff, anyone involved in sport at Edinburgh, because this would help people see people in sport, but overall just give a greater insight into club activity. My last manifesto point is intimate connections. Again, I feel as though our clubs are all doing really good things, are in really good places, but one way in which we can improve is through greater collaboration. This is a simple idea, but essentially, presidents from sports, pretty dissimilar from each other, will be paired up to work with each other throughout the year. They can share best practice and potentially even collaborate on projects such as fundraising. Those are just a few of my ideas which reflect my motivation behind wanting this role. Supporting well-being and making sport more will be the backdrop to everything I do as your sports union president. Second year Liv really even believed that she would have the opportunity to run for sports union president, never mind with your votes potentially becoming it. So if you also live for sport, vote for Liv. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, I'm Florian, a history and classics student final year at Edinburgh here. Hope you're all having a very good evening so far. Just a few quick words about myself and my experience at sport at Edinburgh and how I found it in the last 4 or 5 years and what I want to do next as your sports union president for next year. So I first joined the men's club in 2020 and since then I've fully embraced youth sport. It's been such an integral part of ensuring a positive university experience. I'm sure many of you in this room have felt the same thing. I want to key features of university sport for me are creating friends for life, growing as a person, and having mental and physical break from the rigours of academic study. Most importantly though, it should be fun, social and accessible. I'm running to be your sports union president to ensure that every voice is heard and that you as members are prioritised and valued. I aim to represent you equally, from people who take part in intramural sport all the way through who participate on the world stage. During my time at university, I've held several SU and external positions which have contributed to my understanding of sport at Edinburgh and made me the perfect candidate for the role. Within the men's club, I've been president, vice president and national league and class fixture secretary. This year, I've been a member of the Sports Union Finance Committee, which has given me a wider insight into the inner workings of the sports union and your budgets, which many of you have submitted throughout. Finally, over the last 2 years, I've been a member of the Box Disciplinary Panel, which provided me an excellent opportunity to understand the relationship between Bucks and sport unions throughout the country. I've already shown that I can bring change at this university. It was from my perseverance and petitioning that draft beer was reintroduced by the Student Association alongside Sports Exercise and Sports Union to the bar at Bethel, and I want to bring positive, similar changes to all aspects of the community. Sport plays such a huge role in my life, as I'm sure it does to you also. There are very few days in the year where I'm not playing or watching sports or doing something active. Whilst hockey is my primary sports duty, at school I also play cricket and squash. I have coaching qualifications in sailing, tennis and hockey, and this summer I'm either out playing tennis or walking through Portugal, Switzerland or Scotland. Not just going to Morayfield for the Autumn Internationals and Six Nations, hosting a rugby pod here with one of my friends, or travelling around Europe to support my local club, any and all sports that truly get the forefront of what I do and what I love. Sports is my #1 passion. As your SU president, I would love the opportunity to positively impact your sporting lives and the sports community here at Edinburgh. There are quite a few things on my manifesto I just want to concentrate on 3 or 4 of them in particular. Firstly, on the Wednesday afternoon, I'm sure many of you have experienced this particularly, but academic classes should not play a role on a Wednesday afternoon, or even on any part of the Wednesday. How many of you have had to choose between academics and sports on a Wednesday afternoon? It should not be allowed at university, scheduled classes, or even exams on a Wednesday, unlike in Aberdeen, Nottingham and Loughborough, where you have 3 easy hours to play sports without the worries of academic commitments. Secondly, I want to bring Little Bucks Wednesday, as I call it, in St Andrews, here to Edinburgh. Amazing facilities, and every year it seems to be hosted up in St Andrews, but I want to bring it down here alongside Scottish Student Sport, so we don't have to travel to St Andrews, and we can have amazing support amongst the clubs here on the Wednesday. And finally, I want that you, as clubs, can have supporters travel to your finals and final pitches, playoffs throughout the country. I want to make a fund where you can put in money, and at the end of the year, Sports Union repays back to you and allow you, your friends, family, club members to go around the country and support you at your most important fixtures at the end of the year. Thank you very much.
Sport has been a defining part of my university experience. From my first involvement with women's football in 2021, when I first joined the first year, to holding leadership roles across multiple clubs and clubs, I've seen firsthand how sport brings people together, builds confidence, and creates opportunities beyond the pitch or court. So I'm running for sports union president because I want to ensure that every student, every club, and every sport has the ability and resources needed to thrive and grow. Sport at Edinburgh University should be inclusive, accessible, and well supported, and I'm committed to making that happen. So through my experience in club leadership, sports union executive roles, and participating across multiple sports, I've gained a deep understanding of how the sports union operates and what clubs need to succeed. As a women's football secretary in 2023 to 2024, in our third year, I worked closely with sports union staff and sport and exercise at Peppermill to organise pitches, fixtures, and training sessions, strengthening my organisation having handled fixture organisation, logistics, working exercise at Pleasant, would give me a strong insight into intramural sport and facility management. As sports union participation officer currently, I have a one-to-one program with multiple clubs, gaining a broad perspective on the diverse challenges and opportunities across different sports and not just personally involved in. A major focus of our role has been widening participation, including leading the International Sports Club, which I'm pretty sure everyone on this board already heard, provides taster sessions and opportunities for international students to engage in sport at Edinburgh. As Football Women's President, partly, and in club development, balancing team growth, performance, and community engagement, and this has strengthened my ability to oversee matchday operations, secure sponsorships, and create opportunities for competitive and recreational players. All while doing all of this, I have also been volleyball since my second year, which meant I was balancing 3 different sports while managing multiple leadership positions and academic commitments. This has given management and organizational skills as well as insight into different levels of sport and university, from performance teams to recreational participation. During my time at Edinburgh, I've developed the ability to lead effectively, communicate clearly, multiple responsibilities at once. So I know what it takes to support clubs and students and drive real change in the sports union. If elected, my focus will be supporting clubs, increasing participation, improving and ensuring a long-term plan for student sport at Edinburgh. First of all, strengthen support in one-to-one programs because I've had great feedback from the clubs I've been working with. So expanding one-to-one support so all clubs receive guidance from the sports union. Introduce mid-year check-ins to ensure clubs are progressing smoothly and issues are addressed and early. Improve funding, access and sponsorship guidance, ensuring clubs have long-term financial sustainability because my clubs have also struggled with this issue before. Increasing participation and accessibility, expand the International Sports Club to engage more international students and widen access to recreational sport. Ensure all clubs are aware of recreational opportunities so students can participate at any level they want. Strengthen the Active Lives program and reduce financial barriers through participation. Enhance visibility and media coverage. Encourage more clubs to live stream matches on yoe.tv. Increasing visibility and student engagement. Provide media and commentary training every year so all clubs feel confident promoting themselves. And develop a centralized SU media strategy to ensure club achievements are showcased. Improving facility access and booking systems. Push for fair facility allocation, ensuring that smaller and developing clubs are also opened and everyone gets a fair chance at booking training slots. Increase transparency in the booking system and advocate, increase transparency in the booking system so everyone knows how it's all done and no one struggles with it. Expanding coaching, refereeing, and element support. Make coaching, refereeing qualification more affordable and accessible for students and enhance the sports related network at the same time reviewing and developing a new 5-year plan. So to kind of quickly, I love the sports community and I know how transformative sport can be for students in Edinburgh, and I want to be your sports union president to ensure that every club, every sport, and every student have visibility and opportunities they deserve. I would be honoured to represent you and advocate for your clubs, ensuring that sport in Edinburgh continues to grow, improve, and thrive in 2025 and 2026. Thank you.
Right, we'll move into the pre-submitted questions. So these will be 1-minute answers. I'll read the question to you guys, give you a couple of seconds to think about it, and then we'll run through. So Lily, you're going to answer this one first, and then we'll do Liv, Flo, and then Gladys. So nice easy one to get you all started. What is the one thing you learned from your previous experience that you think is the most important to transferring to SU president? So key piece of experience that you think will transfer into. Give you a couple of seconds to think about now to you, Liv. I think for me, tennis is a massive club. We have 370 members this year. It covers way more than just bucks or just a recreational club. We have learning how to, operate within that to make sure that every member within our club has a good experience within it. So for the Bucks players, they're being able to train at facilities, but also not at the cost that's costing on the recreational side. Also having a really developed rec program as well. I think that's something, just how multifaceted it is something that I'd love to take into the role of SU president, and like just understanding that the club has like different elements to it, and yeah, working around to just make sure our members of the SU are happy.
So yeah, similar to Lily, I think my most invaluable has been how I've navigated relationships, like within my committee. Obviously, working within a sports club, you meet so many different people, including also working with the SU, and also like how you can advocate for your sport. As well, we're also a pretty big club, we've got 8 box teams and then 3 recreational teams as well. So again, continuing to build and bridge between the competitive and recreational sides. I think, as I touched on before, because I've been in both, that's something that I really wanted to advocate for. So yeah, maybe that's not one thing, a bit of a mix, but we're all together, I guess.
For me, probably it's the fact that stuff goes wrong. I don't know about you, but as president, like fixture sec, vice president, something on a weekly basis, monthly basis, stuff does go wrong. And our job as sports union to help you out, to help you guys fix stuff. And what I've actually learned the most is that even if stuff does go wrong, however bad it may be, there's always a way out. There's always something to fix it and ensure that you and your can actually enjoy the weekend the best you can for your sport on a Wednesday, whether it's ours not turning up or problems with transport. However you want to phrase it, stuff goes wrong, but I found that you can always fix it no matter what.
I think one of the key lessons that I learned was pretty much the importance of clear communication, because after 3 years, I basically read emails. And from my experience as the secretary for women's football and the futsal president and the Karen dispenser, I've learned that clubs thrive when they feel heard and supported, and that's why transparency, accessibility, and proactive engagement be at the heart of my approach as the SU president.
Thanks, guys. So next one, we'll start with you, Liv. This is a slightly longer question, so just shout if you need it again. Given that the university is looking to make significant savings to operational costs, what would be your approach to demonstrating of continuing to invest in sport, and how would you justify the various funding that you each spoke about in your manifestos and on the website? And for this one, Liv. Yep, so university looking to make significant savings to operate costs, what would your approach be to demonstrating the importance of continuing to invest in sport, and how would you justify the various funding costs you've each spoken about or written about? And we're going to go Liv, and then Bladder, and then Flo, and then Billy.
So I believe that the sense of community and belonging that sport at Edinburgh has given me and all the guys justifies to the university by making sure that sport is always on the agenda. I do this through things like the podcast, through things like Club of the Month, etc., making sure that everything is always on the public platform, so then we can make sure that sport is always on the agenda. And also do club advocacy. You guys can come to me as your sports union president, tell me your concerns in terms of where you're getting cut, and then we can work together to navigate through that, and also in places speak with the sports union, speak with the institution itself, show why sport is such a central community and why that needs to be recognised by the university as well.
Bladder, over to you now.
I think with the looking to make significant cuts, it's important than ever to justify why sport deserves strong financial backing, and Edinburgh is not just about the competition, it's plays a crucial role in student well-being, mental health, and community engagement, and the university's reputation. So I would say I would put sport as a core part of student life. So sport directly contributes to mental health, physical well-being, and student retention, making it a crucial investment rather than an optional cost. And university actively promotes itself as a leading institution for students, so cutting sport funding contradicts this. And I would also encourage, as I mentioned in my manifesto, increasing access to coaching and refereeing courses benefits. It will benefit the university by allowing faculty to become more self-sufficient.
1 minute.
Well, there are around 8,000 people in university out of around 40,000. I think that's pretty clear to university how much people here at Edinburgh value sport. I think, personally, I probably would have failed without sport. I think people come to Edinburgh because it's just as good at acting as it is for sport. So many people I speak to on a daily basis say how much they love sport Edinburgh. They choose it over places like Exeter, Loughborough, Nottingham because of an equal place just for sport and academics. I think we need to make that clear to the university. It's an attractive proposition for both academics and sport compared to other places in the
I think it is scary, the operational costs as well. I think the main thing for me that stood out to why we justify sport is because of that community, because of the impact it can have on all of our mental health and well-beings. And I think that in itself, with statistics, not just at the university but sport in general, should justify sport at Edinburgh and sport on this level. And I guess within this particular sport at Edinburgh and USU, how do we do that? I think we look at the successes of the clubs. I know it's been mentioned, not just on a Bucks Wednesday, but successes bringing people into community and being able to actually form friendships that are outside of the classroom, where people aren't isolated, whether that is wins on Big Bucks Wednesday or whether that is an amazing trip across Scotland. I think that by showcasing their publicity, that's how we justify it to the university.
We're all very polite clapping between questions, so yeah, it's nice. Cool, so next one we will go to Florian first, and then Vlada, and then Lily, and then Liv. Key kind of mention that you all have either discussed this evening or mentioned in your manifesto, the support buddy systems for club presidents and how they might interact with the SU and the exec committee. Can you describe your strategy for one-to-one support for club presidents, how you think your method would be the most effective? So, buddy systems for club presidents and your strategy for managing those.
Yeah, I think the buddy system is great at the moment. It allows clubs, presidents who might not know what they're doing, especially at the start of the term, to come to the sports union, discuss any problems they might have. I think one thing that I maybe want to try and change is creating focus groups, study groups, not just one-to-ones, but include various different sports. So, for example, men's hockey, women's hockey, men's rugby, women's rugby. Get sports who are very similar and create one-to-ones, but on a larger scale, 1-4-1, if that makes sense. Sports which share some of the characteristics of how they run. You get them together so you can share ideas about how best to run the club.
Cool. Explain.
So, being a participation officer, I've actually done the one-to-ones with many clubs, and I've learned that not many clubs actually have one-to-one programs. And so what I'm trying to implement is 2 meetings per year. So first semester, second semester, ensuring that all clubs have regular opportunities to raise concerns, discuss successes, and receive guidance. Each session will focus on club goals, current successes, challenges, and priorities, so club presidents feel supported and equipped to make informed decisions for the club. Regular meetings will ensure presidents never hesitate to seek guidance, promoting a culture of trust, open communication and collaboration, and effective problem solving, so by maintaining consistent and identify common issues early and ensure clubs are pointed in the right directions quickly and efficiently.
system I mentioned at the UC Club conference, I would aim to get into groups, committees that are like similar in their sport so they can work together and at least a face to a name, and then you have that support. Then for the one-to-ones, I spoke about how we get ahead. For me, I found it maybe a bit frustrating as tennis president. We don't have courts. We have 11 teams that compete at different courts on a Wednesday, and the previous people who I've been paired with don't really understand that. So I look for sports that have similar structures, and where that isn't possible, to have the exec committee go to that sport and understand what it's like. And then I would also introduce a second SU Pres meeting at the beginning of semester 2. We can check in with the goals that are decided in the club one-to-ones.
So, and in terms of the support week system for me, in my 5 minutes I talked about how we could also look at pairing sports dissimilar from each other, because I found with netball, I've often worked with clubs pretty similar to mine, say lacrosse, say basketball, but I've not been able to work with more non-box sports, so that would be cool, box and non-box sports work together, because then we can like increase the mixing throughout the sports union, and also in terms of fundraising, etc. In terms of one-to-ones, I'd also look to make them more frequent, as we want at the start of the second semester as well, just so that we're always working together and building partnerships with each other. I just thought that's one way in which we can improve. So yeah.
Nice answers there as well, so thanks guys. Vlada, you're up next for the first one, so we'll go Vlada and then Florian and then Liv and then Lily, so just back down the line. How do you plan on and continuing the full-time on initiations campaign and working with clubs to follow the code of conduct when it comes to social? So I'll give you a couple of seconds to gather your thoughts on that one. Yeah, with work with clubs to follow the code of conduct specifically when it comes to socials.
Okay, so drinking culture initiations, club social events should always be safe, inclusive, in line with the SU code of conduct. While social traditions can be a great way to bond, they should never pressure student members or put anyone at risk. So what I'm going to try and do is proactive education and training. At the start of the year, we'll introduce a mandatory committee training on safe social events, inclusivity and consequences of breach of SU code of conduct, clear reporting and accountability. So I will work to improve anonymous reporting channels, ensuring that students feel safe coming towards that they experience any issues. Also promoting alternative socials. I will encourage clubs to offer more inclusive, non-alcohol focused events, ensuring that all members of drinking preferences feel welcome and including.
Yeah, for the full-time on initiations, I think at the moment the active bystander training is really good. I've done it for the last 2 years and made sure that every member committee has also done so. It's a great way of demonstrating to your club members, especially first years, how much you value them being a member of your club, ensuring that they're welcome at all your socials. It's a safe, inclusive environment. I think with code of conduct, maybe it's possibly slightly hard for club members, anyone in your club, to actually find it. I think I personally had that with some first years like last year, and it's trying to make that streamlined and easy as it's accessible for anyone who has a problem to report something anonymously to the sports union and to ensure that it's dealt with in a fair and appropriate manner. Thank you.
So following on the sports union's work on updating the code of conduct, I think it's the communication and getting it out that's really important. Making sure that all committees are aware of updates to it and also how we promote that. So continuing to push inclusive sober socials, making sure that there are sober representatives at each social. I think clubs are really getting there in terms of this. It's just keeping on the push and also publicising it more and more accessible in terms of social media, just like quick snap bites from the code of conduct that people can easily read and easily access.
written down is make it more accessible, because I think we've all struggled finding it. I definitely have. So just making sure that all club committees and club members get that circulated, and on an often basis, because it's not necessarily something that just happens at the start of semester, but actually reiterating and continuing that full-time on initiations, and initiations in general are not allowed at this university. I think for mixed gender clubs, we've had a social rep, but I would look also to extending that to have a sober rep for both genders, just because I know that it can be quite daunting as a female if something's happened on a night out. Going to a male if you're drunk as well. I think having somebody from each gender if you are a mixed gender club is really important. And then the anonymous reporting, almost a helpline kind of made accessible so people know where to access help if they need it.
That's a nice, easy one. You've all pretty much touched on this, so feel free to keep the answer really brief. This one is about your time management. So you've all talked about being coaches, you obviously all volunteer, you all do loads alongside studying. You balance that, so can you evidence your ability to manage your time with any other competing interests? And this one will go to Liv first. So we'll go Liv, Bladder, Lily, and then back to Florian.
Yeah, as with probably the most of you, studying alongside a part-time job and also all of my committee roles. How I kind of try to tackle this is I would schedule dedicated hours into my day for netball admin. I'd normally make it the first hour of my day, just bash through the emails, bash through all the communication to your committee members and any messages from club members as well. And then switch off from that and then into study mode and then on evening into work. As much as I try to keep it within that 1 hour, I was always on hand if anyone needed anything at any point as well.
So it's hard, but it's doable, I'll say that. And balancing multiple committee roles. So I'm on 2 exec committees right now, and I play 3 different sports, plus all the sports I do every different week. I've learned how to do it effectively, so this is going to make me sound like a nerd, but I have a little calendar, and I color code all the things I need to do for academics, for sports, for my exec committees, and it's been so far so good, but at the same time flexible and adaptable because emergencies do happen, and it worked really well. I've been doing it for the past 4 years now.
For me, the main thing is just actually at the beginning of the day looking at what I need to do. I've, alongside everyone else, I've balanced being president whilst completing my law degree, which definitely isn't easy. Sometimes you just do have to dedicate that time, and I think just allotting that at the start of the day and knowing where you're going to do what is really important. I think one way that I've showed that the week before Welcome Week, our coach, so 19 hours of court sessions then had to be allocated. That included me as a level 2 coach taking some of them, but just having that, I guess, written into my schedule was really important.
To be completely my first started on committee, I was absolutely terrible at time management in my second year. But I think it's been something I've worked on, especially in my 3rd, 4th university. When you're in your lectures, turn off your WhatsApp so you don't respond to anything. It's knowing when and what to delegate to people, and then what's important, what can be left for later on in the day, what actually counts as an emergency. I think that's kind of the biggest thing which has struck me is some stuff can just be left, but some stuff needs to be acted on straight away, and it's knowing which is which, basically.
We are almost there. Okay, this one we will go to Lily first, and then Liv, and then, sorry, no. Yeah, Lily, Flo, Liv, Bladder. Do you think the SU supports clubs? There's a word missing. Do you think the SU support for clubs with weekly fixtures should be different than for clubs with a few events a year? If so, how and why? So this one's probably picking up on Wednesday sports versus week sports as well, so I'll give you a couple of seconds for that one. So should the SU support be different for weekly fixture clubs or event trip clubs?
I think the answer is yes, but not in a way that it's like one is better than the other. I think that the SU needs to actually look at how we can support clubs best given what they're doing. If you're competing on a week list, then you need support in arranging those fixtures and making sure that they happen. If you're a dream sport or you have a couple of events across the year, I think it's really important in still getting the same amount of support, but it'll often be in a different. I think my experience through tennis and surf, I can see both clubs need vastly different support from the SU. So yeah, they do need different support, but that does not mean in the slightest that one is better than the other. And I think we can look at that and like what do the clubs actually need.
Yeah, thank you.
To be honest, I mean, that was like a very good answer. I think it's just about allocation of resources. It's on a weekly fixtures basis. It's just very kind of just concurrent. We're always doing something. Once off, maybe 3 times a semester, twice a year. It's just looking in advance, properly booking transport in advance so that everyone can get down there and it's the cheapest rather than waiting last minute. Lots of times when weekly fixtures, it's getting umpires, organising travel at the very last minute, and it's just completely, it's 2 different things really. They're not one's not better than the other. It's just knowing how and what to allocate resources to throughout the year.
Yeah, so I also think it needs to be different for each different need. SU support needs to be tailored. For example, for the more one-off, maybe far away events, there's probably more required in terms of licensing, probably more travel, probably more insurance, etc. Whereas for the Wednesday sports, it's probably more on the week in, week out, getting the umpires there, still travel, etc. Both of an effort, but it's how that effort is concentrated that's slightly different for each. So if it is obviously a massive weekend that's being planned, it's just like really supporting for that one event, whereas for the Wednesday sports, it's like kind of just treating us support like as and when it's required. So yeah.
I think my answer, which is not helpful, but is going to be yes and no. But it's, I think the balanced SU support approach would be a great way to deal with this. Is both types of clubs are equal attention, but the support should be tailored based on their specific operational needs to ensure fairness, efficiency, and growth across all the clubs at Edinburgh. This is take facility access and booking priorities, so clubs with weekly fixtures need consistent and reliable training spaces to prepare for matches. So they require priority access to regular training slots and better scheduling support. But event-based clubs need flexible, larger scale bookings for their key competitions or performances. So SU support should focus on securing venues and logistical planning for these major events way ahead in advance. And fixture-based clubs need match coordination, regular communication with leagues, and travel support for away games, but event-based clubs require support with large-scale planning, including risks assessments, permits, and logistics for one major event, which is why a balanced approach is necessary.
Right, last one for all of you, you'll probably be pleased to hear, and then we'll come to the room for any questions that you guys have as well. So this one, we'll go straight back to Vlada and then Liv, Florian. 71 clubs in the SU, it's a pretty mental number. With there being so many clubs and such big differences between them all, what do you think you would do to ensure each club receives the best kind of outcome or support and gets everything that they need? And how do you support that in the role as president?
Isn't going to be the ultimate plan, but the clubs need to be heard, the feedback needs to be listened to, and based on what you guys are struggling with and what you guys think is what's going to make me give you the best development of the club.
I think, like I mentioned, I would want a clear development plan in the first one-to-one, and then we can check in the following meetings. I also think for outcomes and supports, and like across all 71 clubs, it is massive. I think being somebody who can represent and having people in the office who understand all different types of clubs would be important. I think non-buck sports are often underrepresented in the office because of the nature of the pathways that people have got to get there. And I think that me as a candidate, I would be able to provide that for those clubs. I think the check-ins and just sticking to a plan that we decided at the beginning of the year would be instrumental in making sure that all clubs have good outcomes and success.
So in terms of this question, I think it's my nature as an individual that would make sure that, yes, there's so many clubs, but that you guys would always do prioritise. I really, really love sport. I really care about the student experience, and I would put in my all into making sure that all your concerns are heard. Obviously, I'm not going to claim that I can do that all myself, but I feel within the netball committee role of the captain, I've learned how to delegate, I've learned who to depend upon. So I go to those guys to also assist me in this, in things like the support system. But yeah, I just want to reiterate that I would always be on hand for any concerns, no matter what type of sport you play.
I think with the 71 clubs, it's very easy for individual clubs, small clubs especially, to get along like such a large system. I think as sports union president, you need to know each committee, each president on a personal level, get to know them properly, so that you as club members, as presidents and as committee members know that you'll come to sports union at any point throughout the year if you need a problem or if you don't feel like you're being supported enough, to get the help and support, encouragement to build your club, and ensure that your members have literally the best time at university for sport.
Thanks all of you. I know it can be a little bit daunting when you're sat on a stage, and Lily, sorry for putting you right next to the roasting hot radiator, but some really, really good answers, and hopefully covered off a lot of the questions that you have. But that being said, does anyone have any questions that they'd like all of the candidates to answer? Anything that you don't think has necessarily been covered in what you've read in manifestos, or any answers that have been given this evening? Shout as loud as you can.
You all have quite extensive manifestos, and there's a lot of the sports union president job that is just maintaining the functioning of the SU. How will you ensure that the work that you take on is all in the year and also sustainable after the year?
Great question. Yeah, go on.
I said that when I actually didn't answer it. I think what I've learned about myself in the past 4 years is that what I say I can do is I can do, because being a secretary in third year, I had to send emails to over 200 people about trials, and that was done within 2 days. And one of my things at the manifesto, reviewing the 5-year plan that was made 5 years ago, and developing a new 5-year plan, so the legacy of what every sports union president has done will be left there.
To us, I think it is very hard to make sure that stuff which put in your manifesto gets done alongside ensuring, without a doubt, the sports union runs smoothly and perfectly on basis. That's the number one priority. And the number two is just you have to be adaptive. I think at the very start, the moment you get elected sports union, you're pretty much going to know very quickly what you can and what you can't achieve. Whatever you put in your manifesto, yes, that's what you do, but it's being adaptable and knowing, alright, this might not work perfectly. Learning from club members, learning from committee members, what they want actually, so we just put what in our manifesto we want to do. It's about going out to you guys and understanding what needs to be slightly changed and improved for your needs and what can be best suited for your club.
So as I mentioned, I'm a politics student. I've spent the last half seeing manifestos being written and not being implemented, as you all have read. Because of that, with that in mind, when I designed my manifesto, I I wanted it to be more about the philosophy and my values and what I would bring to everything throughout the sports union president role. That's why I've got such a big focus on wellbeing and widening participation, especially. Because of that, on top of what those values are, I just came up with like a few ideas, such as the podcast, such as the pairing system for interval connection, so that I didn't like overwhelm myself and overwhelm all of you with what was in the manifesto, because then I do think what I could deliver would be achievable within the year. And yeah, my main focus is on advocating for you guys and what you guys want.
I think I tried to, when writing my manifesto, look at elements of the parts of the role that could be improved rather than completely dragging things from absolutely outer space. So I think that's just areas that, like, I've written about things where I think that there can be improvements, like pub one-to-ones, which is part of the role anyway, or like the SU meetings. I think that in terms of how is it achievable, I think, and like keeping into the role, I think my experience as secretary for 2 years for tennis, I've very much overseen the administrative side of the club, and I know what I'm capable of. Right? And then how do we keep things sustainable? And the new initiatives, for example, I said I want like days in the lives of different sports, and I think we introduce initiatives that can be replicated year in, year out to showcase different things and making sure that there's a focus and there's a need and a want to have them go beyond the year. Yeah.
Good question and some very good answers as well, so well done. Any other questions for all candidates? Or has Rosie covered it all off for everyone? Cool. Anyone have any questions that they would like to ask an individual candidate sat on the stage? And remember, this needs to be directly related to anything that they've said this evening or anything that you've read in their manifesto and their election address. Yeah.
I've got a question for all candidates.
Yeah, go for it, Hannah.
I think we've all touched upon about how people involved in the sport at Edinburgh have such an increased amazing time in the community. What do you think is the biggest barrier for those who aren't involved in sport at Edinburgh?
Straight away.
I think the biggest barrier, I don't know, I think there's a few massive barriers. I think cost is one, that it's increasing to live in Edinburgh. Rent is increasing, so why do you justify spending the money on a sport? Because we're in that, we already know what it's like to be part of it. And for me, that's a non-negotiable. But I think for other people, it's really quite terrifying. I think that also being able to go into surf as a beginner, going into a club where I knew nothing about it, was absolutely terrifying. And I think increasing like recreating beginner pathways to sport is really important, and like showcasing that that is an option. So even if you're not competing at this amazing performance level, or you're not in the running for bucks, that's absolutely fine. Like, that's what sport's about. It's about getting involved, about making friends, and about enjoying your time in that community. So I think those are my two big ones, definitely cost and being a beginner, and yeah, you need to address them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go along the lines. I do undoubtedly think it is probably financial. That's why I've worked with clubs such as the 93% Club to ensure that state-educated students at this university can feel included in our sports clubs because of how expensive it is. I therefore look at ways in which we can reduce this, but also admittedly that we aren't going to be able to change this overnight, but just supporting individual clubs and how they can help their members. Like, so for netball was if people were struggling, like having a payment plan so they don't have to pay. So in September, end of welcome week, you're hit with like, for netball it's like over £1 because of everything that's involved. So it's how each different club and what their costs are involved, supporting them to try and reduce barriers that are still very relevant.
Yeah, I think it's like giving a few those who aren't in sport at the moment, and as the other two have mentioned, finance cost plays such a big role at the moment. If you're working your job, having to focus on academics, suddenly sport drops down the rankings, and it's giving those people who don't actually do sports at the moment, give them opportunities throughout the year, taster sessions, and allow them to almost pay for free if possible to get out of the club's budget to begin with, to get them involved. because especially for first years, if you get someone who's never paid for, if you allow them to pay for free to start off with, pay them for that first year, there's 3 more years at university at Edinburgh, and that's almost worthwhile, in my opinion. Getting them involved with make friends for life and improve their lives for better, not just for 1 year, but for 4 years at Edinburgh.
I definitely agree with the whole financial cost. Playing these sports, I spent almost £500 on the sport here, and I think a lot of, from what I've seen, international students, they struggle to want to be part of the competitive sport because they are not complete. And I think what a thing about international sports clubs is what it did is first it's free. You don't need a gym membership, you don't need a club membership, and you get to try out different sports. So I think it's a great way for lots of students in sport at university. They can actually try it out and perhaps maybe then take a route to a certain club and then see what the club offers them in terms of financial help.
Any final questions for either individual candidates or group to cover? No, all good. Brilliant. I know what you guys have done is sit and listen and clap, but I think another big round of applause for the 4 on the stage. Next steps, voting is obviously now open, so you can vote for your preferred candidate for the presidential role, and also the executive elections are obviously live at the same time, so please do have a look, read through all the matters and make sure that you're voting for as many roles as possible. The SU wouldn't function without the exec and the president, so the staff team do a huge amount of work, but without you guys in the room and exec and a president that puts their all in for a year, it just wouldn't happen as it does at the moment. So it is really important that you read through and choose the people that you do think would be most suitable for the role. Voting is